Hello, this is the presentation on blockchain-enabled integrity protection for Bodycam video as presented at EIO Broadnets 2021. The use of CCTV surveillance by law enforcement has been an issue for civil liberty groups and people concerned with individual privacy for some time, particularly around the widespread prevalent use of CCTV cameras in our public areas and spaces, but also in use by law enforcement investigations. This concern has grown in recent years due to the rapid adoption of body-worn cameras that are worn by officers in the field and are triggered to record and to stop recording based on events and manual intervention. So there are two main complaints by civil rights advocates, and these centre around, first of all, why is the video recorded in the first place? What triggered its recording? What were the circumstances, such as racial profiling or incidents? And what other events occurred, such as triggers to start the recording process? Secondly, once video has been recorded, sometimes that video is made unavailable to the individuals that are being prosecuted. They've been told, technical failure, or we haven't got the video, the device failed or whatever. And this can be in occasions when the video is actually beneficial to the defendant. So there is a bit of a trust issue there in regards to those two situations and scenarios. So this all leads to a lack of transparency. What we're hoping to do through implementing blockchain in body-worn police cameras is to build a system that is a immutable and publicly available record for the creation of videos, the GPS data, other triggers surrounding the recording, such as the use of PTT radio or weapon holster release. These sorts of triggers can be recorded in the blockchain and made publicly available, independently of the video footage itself. On top of this external metadata, we can also look to record key data, such as a key required to decrypt a digital watermark, or, as we've experimented with for quite some time here, the use of distinctive DC sequences, which is the DC value within a discrete cosine transform matrix block, which is the value at 0, 0, which contains most of the energy within the discrete cosine transform output. One of the key benefits for recording this data separately in a blockchain is that once video is made available to, say, a defendant or public prosecutor or some interested group, there's no actual requirement to verify that video against the original video. That is, it's only required access to the blockchain, and that data on its own may be not contain any sensitive or classified information. So it provides a method to validate and authenticate video product without actually having to release or grant access to potentially sensitive video archives. The architecture of our system looks very similar to this. So the officer is in the field with his Bodycam worn device. It uses an external communications path, such as an LMR radio or a cell phone, to communicate back to a primary server. Although some cameras in the field on the market now can live stream back to an operations centre or whatever, this is usually a tactical decision that's done. It's not common to record or stream all video back to a data centre all the time, basically due to cellular data costs and bandwidth limitations. So it's far more common for the video to be recorded locally, and then when the body cam comes back to the police station or the end of shift location, it'll be docked or it'll connect to a Wi-Fi network, and then it will actually exfil its data back into an archive of some sort. And our system is very, very similar to this. What it does do, though, is it submits in real time block records into the blockchain. So regardless of whether the video has been lodged back at base or not, the public record or the potentially public record is available through the blockchain server. And not only internal, the server has primary and secondary servers, so an external civil liberty group or Overwatch committee can have access to that data as well. The blockchain structure itself is based on some of our previous work. We look at, it's a basic Merkle tree structure with individual branches for each camera. What this means is that each camera can submit blocks to the Merkle tree structure out of order, so there's no requirement for any one camera to be submitting blocks in sequence with another camera or in any kind of coordination with another camera. And this is important because if a camera is lost or stolen or damaged out in the field and its blocks have already been submitted, this could potentially invalidate further blocks from other cameras if there were some relationship, which we've tested in the past. We ran two experimental scenarios that I'll describe here, and we ran several others in the paper, but these were the primary ones. So in our first experiment, we were given an arbitrary clip that came from a camera which had submitted its blocks to the blockchain, and using purely the post-processing of the DC values, we used Pearson's correlation and used that correlation score as a metric to locate that clip within the blockchain. This was highly successful and we were able to, in all cases, identify short clips within the blockchain and link their metadata with scores of over 0.99 in terms of correlation, very close to 1. Our second experimental scenario was examining tampered video, and in this example, or this scenario, it was first necessary to identify the video, and we used an external watermark. So we did use a visible watermark to first of all identify the clip, and then once the clip was identified within the blockchain, we compared the original and tampered video against the blockchain and found significant difference in the correlation score at the object level. So implementing YOLO in our post-processing, we were able to not just do correlation scores on keyframes, but correlation scores of objects within those keyframes. And as the example shows here, our correlation score dropped from 0.99 down 0.97 and even lower on other occasions. We found our experimental scenarios were handled quite successfully by the infrastructure and testing. There are significant challenges to running real-time processing on small, low-powered devices. There's quite a few very advanced digital watermarks, for example, that are difficult to implement in real time on low-powered hardware. Our method of non-invasive processing in real time worked in real time on very low-powered generic hardware and successfully enrolled our video and submitted blocks in real time, and then allowed for successful retrieval at a later date. So we found that we could do this on generic hardware at low resolution, quite low frame rates of 15 frames per second, but this could easily be improved using customized hardware that had access to GPU processing. Another challenge for this is the size of the distinctive DC values that are stored in the blockchain. Body-worn cameras are particularly well suited to this in that they are not 24/7 recording. They are activated on triggers and generally record for only short periods of time. Even so, there are several strategies that need to be employed to efficiently store the DC values, including compression and storage of deltas, this sorts of strategies. And we found that these are very important. Thank you. And that concludes the presentation.